It's your boy, yadiiiigg, 4 I's, 2 G's, and today we're here to talk about Tekashi 6ix9ine, an artist who has taken the world by storm over the last few months with viral hit after viral hit. But as usual with any new artist on the scene, the discussion quickly turns from will they be a one-hit wonder to will they have any lasting power within the industry? Will they still be relevant in 6 months or 12 months from now? And in today's age, artists are coming and going quicker than ever before. I mean, just look at someone like Designer, who went from having a #1 hit to not being able to put out his debut album. So that's why the discussion of an artist staying in power is more relevant than ever before. But enough dancing around the topic, I want to get right to it. And to discuss this, I wanted to use the case of Fetty Waps and kind of compare the two situations and see if we can draw any parallels and notice any differences to help flesh out our points. But let's begin with Tekashi, and the biggest issue with him is the repetitive nature of his music. All of his hits bar Gotti have been extremely similar when it comes to his vocal performance, and over the top, borderline screaming delivery where every line is topped off with the same hard-nosed emotion. And I see some people saying that he uses the same flow in every song, and while it may seem like this, it's less about his flow but more about everything else in regards to his voice not changing, that it makes you think that he's using the same flow over and over again, because you've heard that line about him being a killer or him being a blood in the exact same tone, energy, and overall delivery multiple times before. And this will probably be the biggest reason why 6ix9ine won't stick around. He's a one-trick pony in the eyes of the public, and while his style and aesthetic he's bringing to the table is fresh, gripping, and attention-grabbing right now, it's unlikely to maintain those same qualities moving forward. And 6ix9ine's case bears a striking resemblance to Fetty's. Fetty also came out with his own sort of style, and the way he was able to flow and catch a melody with his sound led to huge success initially, but when it was time to follow up and captivate that same audience, it became clear that he really only had this one style. So when he came back in 2016 and 17, people already grew tired of his music, so he was unable to connect in the same way, and it became clear that the style that gave Fetty his rise would also be his demise. And above any other reason, the similarities in how one-dimensional Fetty's and 6ix9ine sounds are will be the biggest problem for 6ix9ine staying power moving forward. But let's move on to 6ix9ine's social media antics and controversies, and with constant uproar about who said what, who threatened who, where he is able to go, where he is banned, fiascos like the Breakfast Club interview, the Summer Jam situation, the Chief Keef situation, 6ix9ine has mastered the art of trolling and media manipulation, and as with any artist in this social media era, this frenzy has undoubtedly added some flame to his movement, and it keeps his name on everybody's fingertips. And this, I think, is the key distinguisher between Fetty and 6ix9ine. Fetty, from memory at least, didn't really get caught up in many controversies, many beefs, or anything like that, and if he did, he didn't really attempt to broadcast, fuel, or perpetuate them in the way that 6ix9ine has, and we are already seeing this being a key factor in helping 6ix9ine keep his name out there. We haven't really seen someone troll and manipulate the media to such a large extent like 6ix9ine has before, so it will be interesting to see how it plays out in the future, and it could be a distinguishing factor in helping him not turn into the next Fetty Wap. Furthermore, in support of 6ix9ine, if you were unaware, prior to his blood gangster aesthetic 6ix9ine came out with on Gummo, he was on a very different, darker, and more sinister wave, and his unique style and aesthetic garnered him quite a big global underground fanbase, especially out in Europe, where he was getting booked for some pretty big shows before the US had really caught his wave. He was even popping enough in the scene to receive a no jumper interview 3 months prior to Gummo, and this gives him quite a big leg up on Fetty, as before Fetty blew up onto the scene, he wasn't really popping like that, even in an underground sense. So whilst they both had a fast ascension to the mainstream, 6ix9ine had that underground fanbase prior, and this could help him continue to be kind of relevant even if he falls out of the mainstream, something which Fetty didn't have once the hits dried up. So all in all, where does that leave us? Well, of course it's tough to predict, but I do think 6ix9ine, if he hasn't already, will run his sound into the ground in a similar fashion to Fetty's because of his redundant sound. However, I do think his manipulation of social media and his trolling antics already has and will continue to play a huge role in extending the shelf life of his career. Ultimately though, the stagnation of his music will probably be his downfall, and unless he undergoes a stylistic change that is able to connect with the mainstream, he's likely to fade off, possibly to return to his more underground underground roots and stay relevant and thrive in that scene, an option that Fetty unfortunately didn't have. And that's all from me today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to let me know what you guys think. Is 6ix9ine the new Fetty Wap? Will he continue to be relevant? And if so, for how long? Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow your boy on all social medias for more.